great wonderful water projects that we looked at yesterday. They would really help us. We would call Ralph and say, hey, you got a project for 20K that you can produce a report on or request on, and in 10 days, and Makensie pipeline in 10 days. And we were able to put those projects in place. And of course, Cajo died this past year. Makensie prepared a wonderful report for the family of all that had been accomplished, and we hope that his son and widow will want to continue. But those are two very big changes that we'll face next year. We're going to have to think hard about our continuing efforts at fundraising. We've got some ideas and some things that are moving forward. Mackenzie's really put some time, and David and Makensie together have done some wonderful work on this as well. But it's an issue, and what that fundraising committee has done. The second thing that I think is important to report to you is that we've been thinking hard about redundancy and the importance of making sure that some of us applying our right here, and there are those who are ready to step into our shoes. And in line with this, Mike, who's on the call this morning, has been a wonderful treasurer for so many years, and Roland has agreed to do some backstopping for Mike to make sure that if he falls in front of a bus, that there's somebody else on the committee who understands the magnificence of this. And of course, it's part of Mackenzie's growing responsibilities as well to take charge of this. This is also a plea that the presidency is a flexible position, and that we are willing to entertain anyone who would like to enjoy working with Makensie and David. There's a position for you available. I want to step back for that. It's really a wonderful honor to be on the board, and just a tremendous opportunity to work with the Peruvian team, with Prodia, with David, with Dr. Madelka, with Rosemary and Uber. And so I encourage anyone who you know of that you talk with them about perhaps joining us. It'd be wonderful to have input.
Thank you, Susie. So just to finish this point, the online folks are not open. All right, so just to summarize essentially with the task force, please reach out to me if you saw your name on a list you don't feel comfortable on, if you want to be added to one, if you want to be join one, and you haven't been on one, we'd be happy to have you. We also have, it's not strictly just for board members, it's for friends of the foundation and for folks that have, been really influential in our history and where we're at today. So please feel free to let me know if that's something you'd like to take on this year. Okay, I think Susie's comments about fundraising is the perfect segue to our next topic here that we'll discuss. So we're going to spend the next few minutes just talking through some of the ideas and strategies that we have to continue fundraising throughout 2025 and how we can continue to diversify where we are receiving our funds from. So I think I tried to make it so you can see these numbers a little bit better today. Sorry about yesterday. But it's always really exciting when we reach our fundraising goal. But I think it's also important to take time to analyze where are these funds coming from, how many donors, where are these donors located, all that type of statistics so that we can get an idea of what's working well and what can we improve upon. So I wanted to share fundraising data from the last 3 years. So we'll kind of go column by column here, and feel free to chime in if you have any questions or comments as we go, because it's a lot of numbers. But essentially, thankfully, since 2022, we have been able to grow our donations. Our goal this year, in case you haven't, if you weren't aware yet, it was $375,000, which to my knowledge is the biggest goal that we've had thus far, and we were able to surpass it. So we raised $395,000. So that's up even from last year, which we surpassed our $350,000 goal to $363,000. So unfortunately, or fortunately, it's just kind of part of doing business, I think. As we earn more, we do tend to spend more, and it is a positive in the sense that this is allowing us to implement more money into our projects, which is our overall goal. So this year, I know I mentioned some numbers yesterday about where we were budget-wise. We had budgeted $337,000, so we were still under budget at $326,000. But it was up from last year, and that was kind of an agreement or a decision that we took together with the board yes, we're going to increase our spending this year, but it's going to allow us to do more projects. So there were costs incurred because of fundraising. We send out a lot of materials, print items, postage, etc. So that was actually down a little bit from last year, and that was thankfully I'm trying to make sure things are a little bit more streamlined. I'm trying to cut costs where I can, but make sure that we're still doing quality materials. So I've found a new printer to work with that's been helpful. And I think this number is really interesting to look at as well, the number of high-end donors. So this does not include organizations. This is individuals who give $500 or more. So in 2022, we were around 50 high-end donors. 2023, we grew it to 60, and this last year we were at 74 high-end donors. So some of them might be new donors, some of them might be what we kind of call a converted donor, or someone who's interested in supporting us in a different capacity. So I think that's a number to be really excited about, and we can hope to continue to grow that this next year. So from those 74 high-end donors, we were able to fundraise $364,000 of that $395,000. So that's a big chunk of change, which is great. We have very generous individuals, but we also acknowledge that this might be kind of putting all of our eggs in one basket. We can't depend just on individuals. So I'm going to talk here in a few minutes about how we can continue to diversify where we're getting those funds from. This number right here will kind of lead into it. We need to go to more organizations, foundations, and look at other grant opportunities. So we were thankfully able to receive some donations from 6 organizations, which is great and we're thankful for, but we know that number can grow and that there's lots of opportunities out there. So we're going to focus a lot of our efforts on that this year. So from these organizations, this last year, we were up from last year, so around $40,000 from organizations, but it is a little bit lower than 2022. So we're hoping to get back into that area, and I finally feel well on my feet. I know kind of what a traditional year at the foundation looks like, what our snail mail campaigns look like, so I really feel that we're going to have some more opportunities to apply for some funding elsewhere this year. Just real briefly, Susie already kind of touched on a few of these points, where we've received funding in the past and how we need to consider changes going into this year. Susie mentioned Western Wind. They've been an awesome contributor, but now we are going to need to provide a more formal proposal requesting funding. So that's DNI's main priority after we get this meeting finished, is focusing on what kind of proposal. I know they've been really interested in the past in projects like Bofedales and potential water projects, so we definitely have some things in the pipeline that we will put together and propose to them. New England Biolabs, thankfully, we were able to receive another grant this last year that does go towards Bofedales as well. And it's something that I think we've established a really good rapport and relationship with them, so I'm hopeful that we can continue that. They really are interested in all of our alpaca work, and how Susie mentioned a little bit yesterday too, how that ties into caring for the Bofedales themselves. And so I'm confident that we can continue to go back to them year after year. And the rest of these organizations are ones that have also been around for a while. One of them is a matching fund. One of them is a fund from an actual donor that has a family fund. And then these last two, Give Lively and Global Giving, I'm looking at 2024 here, are entities that allow us to receive donations from strangers, so to speak. I wanted to focus quickly on Global Giving. This is something I presented last year that we wanted to try to do, at the beginning of last year that we wanted to do during 2024. It's a crowdsourcing platform, kind of like GoFundMe, but for nonprofits. So let's say I'm X person and I say, I really want to give a donation. I don't have a cause I'm really linked to, but I love Peru. So they can go on Global Giving, put in Peru, and we have an organizational profile. Right now, we're focusing specifically on raising funds for both Allies, but people can make a contribution, a general contribution, or reach out to us for more information. So we only received $150 on there, but that's $150 new from people who had no idea who the Chijnaya Foundation was previously. So I'm hoping this year as well, they call them like starter campaigns. You kind of have to apply as an organization, even though you're already vetted, to be a part of specific campaigns where they put a lot of their resources into bringing attention to these fundraising efforts. So I'm hopeful that's something we can continue to grow, but it's a small step in the right direction in the sense that we're diversifying where we can receive gifts. Any questions or comments this far? Okay. Go ahead. Yep.
Seated next to me on the plane down to Lima was a woman who works for a big sugar company, and she said they have annual campaigns and they pick just a few charities for employees to donate to, and she was going to see about putting our name in for next year's holiday campaign. So anyway, it's so random, and yet there are these unexpected benefits that may result from your conversations.
Definitely. And I think you're like the prime example of that, Roland. I'm just gonna give Roland some praise here right now. Thank you for bringing that up. I think it's a great example of how we can just, if we're excited about what we're doing, we can talk to other people who hopefully can be interested too. But Roland does a lot of work on eBay. And so he chooses to take a portion of those funds and give them to the foundation. And I think it was just recently, before the end of the year, one of the transactions that he was doing with an individual, he needed to give a refund, and he said, well, why don't you just give it to the foundation? And that person chose to do that. And so now we have a new donor because of it. So we can really think out of the box here about how we can get people involved. We all have our different efforts, hobbies, what have you. So yeah, thanks for always tooting our horn, Roland, and getting the word out there. We really appreciate it. But you never know who might be interested. I know Susie's done a good job too, going to her dentist, and I think Peruvian restaurants. I mean, honestly, the sky's the limit. Whoever you think could have some sort of interest or connection to Peru, I think you should try. Do you want to mention something more?
Oh, I was just gonna say,
Hello, everyone.
No, I actually wanted to, just mention too that, I had talked to a woman, who, oh my goodness, she has an Etsy page. And she's a Peruvian. She grew up in Miami because her family left during the 90s, during the Civil War. And I connected with her because she sells like embroidery sets, and I do those things. And we went back and forth a little bit, because she's like, well, what are you going to Arequipa for? Because we were writing last week. And so she wanted to do something where she did like a mini fundraiser for the foundation within her Etsy page. And she's like, it probably won't be much, but
Anything
whatever.
else?
So I'm wondering if maybe on the fundraising committee, or one of the committees I'm on, we could talk about maybe formalizing that.
Sure.
So that there's a way that we're making sure that, you know, those funds are getting to us, and that we've got something a little more formal with maybe people who are interested even at a small scale.
Yeah.
So yeah, she seems great. She's an engineer of some sort.
That's a wonderful idea that we can have. I agree on that's a wonderful idea. We could have a suggestion for the how to on the webpage. I also want to mention Judy Bauer, who is, I hope, on this morning, who is such a specialist at recruiting her dentist. I followed up on that, and my dentist gave a contribution as well. So everybody's got a dentist, so that's a wonderful. Thank you, Rocio and Carmen.
Yeah, I think these are the type of conversations we want to keep having in the different committees we have. And again, anyone's invited. If you've got an idea, you don't even necessarily have to approve it. You can go for it, but we'd love to, be a sounding board or see what we can provide you with. I've been constantly telling folks, and I hope that people take me up on this when it's useful. If there's some specific thing you want to highlight about what we do, because we do so much, let me know, and we can put together some sort of pretty packet or something with information specifically catered. I could even put the logo of the dentist on there or whatever. We can really make it what we want it to be. And I think it's just our enthusiasm for what we're doing that can really get people excited and hopefully, join our family. So All right, back to the numbers briefly, just focusing kind of on high level numbers of donors. So we were up the amount of total donors in 2024 compared to 2023. It was down a little bit from 2022, but I'm confident we're trending in the right direction. The amount of new donors was up last year at 35, which is wonderful. Recurring donors is also up, which is great. We have 201 recurring donors, but we do have that lapsed donor amount still at 73, which I know this was a topic of conversation last year. How do we keep them engaged? Unfortunately, it's going to happen. I do think we can still decrease the amount of lapsed donors that we have, but there's just been, especially I think with this kind of environment that we've had in the United States the last year, people have actually written to me and said, hey, I love what you guys do, but I can't give this year, but we still keep them involved, make sure that they're receiving our updates and hope that they could come back to us when it makes sense. So we understand, but yes, it is something if we wanted to have a conversation about brainstorming how we can continue to keep them involved, I'm open to it. And then lastly, we have a number of monthly donors here. These are individuals who have actually set up online. You can set a recurring monthly donation that comes out just like any other automatic payment you make for your electricity or what have you. So we have 5 individuals who did that for us in 2024. We really want to accommodate to whatever interests the donor. I definitely want to make sure, there's some people who said, hey, I want to make one big gift at the end of the year. Great. Other people want to do it monthly. So whatever works for folks, we're happy to help them adjust. Connie, I just wanted to mention a comment that Connie said online here. She said the number of donors is trending. So I think, yes, that is a positive thing we can focus on.
Yeah, let me just go ahead. Can I say this?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this will be the second year in a row, we believe, at the end of 2024. Nationally, the numbers of donors giving is going down, which is a bit alarming. The reason we are proposing is that it's the standard deduction on people's taxes. People are not itemizing deductions any longer, which is just simply something we have to deal with. However, it does mean that as we look at donors, we need to be ready to talk to them about other ways that they can give, maybe without itemizing deductions, but reducing their taxes, especially retired people, which is the required minimum distribution. You can give it and it doesn't then count on your income. Those people are trending up significantly, but total donors are going down. It's the first time in 50 years, actually, that charitable giving is going down in the United States. So we're going to pay attention to it. It's a national trend, and we're a part of that trend. So I just wanted to mention that to folks.
Thank you, Connie.
Thanks, Connie. I think that's a very insightful thing to have in mind. Yeah, so I mean, it's somewhat reassuring we're not alone in fighting that fight, but I will touch a little bit on something Connie mentioned about the RMDs, which we've had some success with this last year. So that's why these conversations are important, because it does allow us to have, some different ideas that maybe we haven't thought of in the past. Here's a quick look at donations by month, which there's nothing too surprising here. This is kind of typically how things have gone for us over the last few years. We push hard in July and we push hard the end of the year with our fundraising campaigns to receive donations. So you can see that's where the majority of our donations came in those months, March to May and August, November. Definitely we could increase donations, and that's where I really plan to focus a lot of my time. It does take a lot of time to prepare for those campaigns as well, but I hope to use some of that time to apply for some of those grants, which might mean that we don't receive the grant until later, but yes, those are areas where we could definitely continue to increase our efforts and hopefully have a little bit more consistent flow of income into our account. I also wanted to highlight named scholarships. This is something I know Kathy mentioned yesterday, that this year we will have 18 named scholarships. Last year we had 17, so it is increasing. The amount raised from name scholarships is also increasing. We brought in $82,000 this last year. And I think name scholarships is something that's just really wonderful and really tangible when someone can give a gift towards a scholarship in memory or honor of someone. And then it's just that impact is so tangible because we provide these individuals with, hey, this is, the student that you are supporting. This is the area that they're studying. This is where they're at in their studies. So it's something we continually suggest or present to donors or potential donors, hoping that we continue to grow that number. Here's kind of a look at our individual fundraising plan for 2025. So this is specifically focusing on reaching out to that main chunk of donor base that is, individuals, not foundations or organizations. So before we dive into the specifics throughout the calendar year, I did want to point out here, we are increasing our fundraising goal to $400,000 this year. So last year it was at 375, so we did surpass it and we're confident that we can do that again. I personally feel like it's something that is a challenge, but it's achievable at the same time, it's attainable. So we're not throwing our hat too far down the road saying, hey, we hope we make it. I think it's something we can definitely achieve. It's going to take lots of work and lots of fundraising campaigns and grants, but I'm confident that we can do it. So specifically for fundraising for individuals, our biggest next push in February is going to be sharing our impact report. This is something that we started to do last year. We did combine 2 years together just because we had the data, we wanted to present it. The impact report, there's actually several copies on the tables in front of you. They are just drafts at this point because we are going to be adding the information about the projects that we approved to that report so people can see, hey, this is what we achieved in 2024, but these are our specific plans for 2025. So we'll be sharing that in physical copies. We'll also be sharing it online and in emails directly to individuals. And we're hopeful that seeing that impact and those tangible numbers is really going to encourage people to continue supporting us. And then in March, we will take kind of that chunk that I just mentioned about the new projects. And we will be highlighting individually those projects that we just went through yesterday and approved together. So we'll say, hey, Chaska Pucara, they're going to get some tornos, and this is the amount, and this is what they're going to do with them. We'll hopefully have some fun pictures to use. So we'll highlight those on social media as well as through our emails. Throughout all of this, I guess something important to mention is we've gotten to know our donor base pretty well. We know what areas interest specific donors. So when there's like a specific project that I think would really interest X person, I try to make sure to reach out directly and say, hey, this is what we're doing. It might excite you. And that typically generates more interest in a potential donation as well. April and May we'll focus on coffee chats. So this is something we've been doing virtually. Essentially, we just invite some of our high-end donors if they want an opportunity to chat with me and members or a member of the board as a way to see how they're doing, catch up, essentially have virtual coffee, share some of what we're doing and how they hope to be involved or things they'd like to learn about with the foundation throughout the year. So we'll focus on that in April and May. And then June and July is that big summer matching campaign that we traditionally do. We'll be sending out our physical mailer, which that has so much success. We spend so much time as a board and myself writing handwritten notes to people saying, hey, this is what we're doing. We're thankful for you. And that touch is just so important. We've seen such a tremendous kind of return on our investment in that sense. And so we're hoping to see that same success with the summer campaign. We send out a series of emails as well. I'm sure many of you are probably sick of all the emails I send to your inbox, but I think it's really important to be present in the mind of the donor without overwhelming them entirely. September will focus on our yearbook. It kind of coincides with when we start school in the United States, so it's very present in people's minds. That's when we will have the opportunity with Prodia to put together this wonderful document that has pictures, descriptions, the students answer questions about what they want to do with their lives. So we think it's really impactful, and that's when we also send out some physical documents to some of those who have either donated towards the scholarship program or we think would like to be involved. And then our last push for individual fundraising, November, December, is that end of year mailing campaign that we just did as well. We usually pick some type of specific focus, whether it's a program or this last November, December, we did testimony of donors about different ways that they've given, why they give, etc. So I think we'll, depending on what's kind of prevalent in our work this year, we'll choose our topics accordingly. I just want to mention Connie has a comment here in the chat. She said a suggestion for one of the HEB coffee chats, invite a conversation on planet and estate giving. This include topics like giving RMDs, etc. I think that's a wonderful idea. I'm going to touch here a little bit on RMDs in a moment. But yes, giving people access to knowledge that they might not have and how they can join. I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you, Connie. One item I did want to kind of come back to that we did this last year that was so successful and I'd like to do again this year. And I'm kind of putting Liz on the spot here, but we did a awesome donor event with Liz. She was able to give some of her knowledge of the area and just kind of link it kind of to the work that we're doing and that we contributed as well. And I think that was very successful. So we hope to do more events like that. If anybody, and we have so much knowledge in this room, just, you know, in the different areas that people have studied and taught on. So if someone is keen on supporting us in that way this year, we'd love to do it. I just think it's always a good idea too, for it not to be just me speaking. I'd love to always hear from the Tortilla team and you all who have such a history in the area too. So if that's of interest, reach out. Otherwise I'll probably be bugging you. Yeah, I think we should do a sequel. Okay, we're wrapping up here shortly before we're going to hand the microphone over to Prodia to talk about their fundraising efforts. But I did want to spend some time talking about potential grants that we've identified, as well as some of those other areas or organizations that we thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to reach out to. So we have a subscription to a service. It's called Funds for NGOs. It's a minimal amount that we pay every year, but they send over specialized or unique emails to us for opportunities of financing that might apply for Peru or the areas that we work in. We've checked certain boxes about what type of work that we do. And so I look through those constantly. Sometimes they're not even close. Sometimes they're, hey, this is a great opportunity. So this list will hopefully get added to as those opportunities come in. And something just to mention in general with grants is it does typically take a lot of applications before we finally see the results and the funding received. So this is a long list. It's going to grow. And just because we apply for a grant doesn't necessarily mean that we receive one, but we're always learning and growing from some of the applications that we send. They receive us feedback if we didn't get the grant. So we use that information when we apply for the next year. Once we evaluate, of course, if it's worth applying for again. But so some of the names here you might recognize. We've received funding from certain areas in the past. Some of them might have changed areas that they want to fund, but we're always trying to stay up to date with, okay, what is the specific interest and how can our work relate back to that? So just picking out a few here, and if anybody wants to touch on a specific one, let me know. I wanted to pull out the Benoit María Prize. That's one that I found from Funds for NGOs, this last year. And it was Debbie helped me with the application. It was, I think, a really strong application, but they are a smaller organization and they chose just to fund one organization, but they gave us some of that feedback that I mentioned that we hope to utilize when we apply this next year. Water Charities, Susie already mentioned regarding their unfortunate loss, but our relationship with April's son, Jason's been very positive, and we're confident that we can go back to them this year after kind of a period of mourning and hopefully get started again with some projects. Ashoka Fellow, I did skip that one real quick, but we'll go back to it. This is one our friend Gloria Levin, who I think is online, suggested, and essentially we are confident that because of her relationship with this potential funder, as well as some conversations we've been having with Ralph and others, that it's something that we can apply for. It might not necessarily be until later this year or even next year, but it's something, again, a lot of these grants take a lot of time and preparation, so it's on our radar and we're definitely going to get it started. It is a potential opportunity to finance the salary of a staff member. So it's very pertinent to the conversation that we've been having about, how can we give more support to ProDia? Unfortunately, it's not something that we could just turn around and have the funding tomorrow to pay for this intern that we're discussing, but it is a way that we can look to the future. We know we want to grow. We know we're going to need more help. So this is a potential solution. How can we fill that gap in the budget? Did anybody want to touch on any of these specifically? Were there any other ideas specifically to grants? We are going to go into other sources of potential income, but I just wanted to open up the floor if someone has another idea. I guess in general, we're all, receiving so much information on a daily basis, and if in your circle you do receive some opportunity, even if it's, hey, I know somebody from Colgate that could give us some toothpaste, like reach out to me. I'm happy to do the legwork to vet it, see if it's feasible, to do what we need. But yes, no idea is a bad idea. So just reach out to us as you're in your world and some ideas come up. We'd be happy to receive those. Any ideas or comments regarding other grants?
Personal connections really make such a difference in any kind of application process. So if you know anyone or have connections to other friends, that really is a step up for us. So please share that information.
Awesome. Thank you, Susie. Okay. Oh, yeah, Dr. Rob. Okay, that's fine.
Just one comment. On many social media platforms, there are Peruvian American groups. I think one should spread our propaganda in those groups. I mean, I hate to say Facebook at this point, but Facebook is certainly one of them that has many, regional groups of Peruvian Americans, and at least, put out some sort of announcement there about the work of the foundation. There are probably hundreds of them, so if somebody could take that on and begin to do that, that would at least get the word out to Peruvian Americans.
I think that's a great point, and something I forgot I wanted to touch on is social media is just wonderful in general, as we all know. We did receive interest from an individual. She's from Scotland, and she's fresh out of the university. She did kind of some social work in Guatemala and here in Peru, and she said, I want to help. She found the Chijnaya Foundation. She wanted to help, and so I always try to take advantage, although I like to think of myself as a young buck. I definitely don't know all of the ways of social media. And she's like, I would love to help with social media. So I'm hoping that this year she'll be able to support us kind of in the way of thinking of new ideas for, things that we can do to continue to get the word out. And she also mentioned expressed an interest in writing grants potentially. So that could be an additional help. Yeah. So, and anybody that might be interested, I'm always surprised at, some of the hidden skills or talents or interests people have. So it's always worth just passing my direction, and I'll see, ways that they can help, because we always need some extra help. So. Okay. Real quick, before we turn the microphone over to David and his team, these are a few other ideas that I have, which again, they're going to take some time. And even if we don't see necessarily monetary fruits from these efforts this year, I think it's something that down the road are going to hopefully prove to be successful. So one area that I would really like to tap into, David and I just had a conversation a little bit about it this morning, are things like Rotary clubs and Club de Leones, Lion Club. I've had some really great success with kind of joining forces between the two countries, between the US and Peru, to get access to bigger financing. So for example, I'm recent to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I'm getting installed and I'm hoping to try to make a little tour, some Rotary clubs, maybe present the work that we're doing at the Chijnaya Foundation, see if it's of interest. If we were able to find a Rotary club here in Peru as well, that's interested in the work that we're doing, these two clubs could come together and say, hey, yeah, we want to do a project with you. We would be in charge with the club's participation of writing what they call a global grant. So applying for funding from kind of the headquarters of the Rotary Club. And this could fully fund different projects. So to give you an idea, in the past, granted, it'd have to be on a scale that makes sense for us, but I've applied for water project financing before from a global grant and have received $50,000. So it could be a substantial amount that we could receive. Again, this is something we have to establish those relationships. You know, maybe it's, hey, let's go see the work that we're doing and eventually apply. But there's a lot of funding to find at Rotary clubs. And I know David was mentioning that I think Ricardo has a connection to Club de Leones here. So that's something I don't have a whole lot of expertise with, but I'm sure it could be a similar structure potentially that they have access to bigger funding. So we'd like to start to investigate that. Some other suggestions that we've received that we hope to look into this year as well is regarded to our dental and health program. So I know we had a suggestion of the Peruvian American Medical Association and Partners in Health Peru. So I plan on working directly with folks who have suggested this to see how we can potentially access any funding. And lastly, this is something I think David touched a little bit on yesterday. He might touch on a little bit more today. We have, thanks to some of these personal connections, we've gotten in contact with other organizations who are doing similar work. Obviously, we have a history with like Ingenieros Sin Fronteras and other entities like that. But CARE and Green Empowerment were two organizations that were brought to our attention that are doing work in the area and that have headquarters in the States, I believe. And so we went kind of down this rabbit hole, David and I, to find who we talked to, who's in Peru with these two organizations doing work. So with CARE, we were able to secure, we started in the US and had a few meetings and found the individual here in the region, and we are signing an MOU with them as a way to partner together to join efforts. I always think it's positive. Instead of duplicating efforts, why don't we join forces, resources, and duplicate our impact, So that's something we're gonna kick off this year. They have specific interest or expertise in the area of the savings programs. And so we've shared our model with them, given them some information, as we hope to continue to, if not monetary, maybe that could be an eventual goal, but to receive just any knowledge or resources or tools that they might have that can help strengthen our savings program. And similarly with Green Empowerment, we kind of ran into a wall, but I'm hoping that we can get it going again this year. They do a lot of work with water projects in the region. And so at one point we were discussing with an individual here that was keen on going to our water projects in Amantani. And similarly, it might not necessarily be a monetary contribution, but it could be, hey, they have access to some engineers that could help solve this problem or something of the sort. So we're hoping that we can continue to explore relationships like that. So if you particularly have some sort of link to an organization or an individual that has an interest in an organization, just pass over the name and we're happy to see it through, because I do think that it can prove to be helpful in the long term. And then the last two items to touch on was just different partners that we have been exploring thanks to the help of our board member, Carla, in Norway. We had a conversation, hey, what kind of ideas might you have in Europe? Was there maybe a Peruvian shop or something that might be interested, or is there something even deeper than that? Is there an embassy that we could work with? So these are just ongoing conversations. I have had success with other organizations applying for, you know, the Australian embassy. There's all kinds of embassies that have funding that want to implement funds within the country where they're located. And so we're just kind of sussing out those different opportunities there. So I know that's very ambitious, but I know there's always more that can be done. And so I just kind of want to summarize some of our efforts this year. So those coffee chats that we mentioned, also working to strengthen our board, and as a way to increase our donor base. One area that Connie touched on, we've mentioned, I'll dive quickly into this, about bequests and required minimum distributions. This is something that we saw success with kind of unexpectedly this last year, and we think it's like a great testimony or story of how we can continue to increase the gifts received by individuals, and potentially in a way that individuals didn't know was possible. We had a donor who turned 73, and he had been giving us around $100 a year previously. And when he hit 73, he said, "Hey, I have a required minimum distribution on my IRA. I want to give it to Chijnaya." And we said, "Okay." So this is somebody I've just been, sending our normal updates to. I believe it's a connection of Ralph's. He gave us $17,000 from that required minimum distribution. So I think it's a great success story. And I know Connie's huge on this. And like she mentioned, having a chat or a coffee chat about what is an RMD and how can I tap into it? Yes, Judy.
I think it's important when you're talking the R&Ds to people to remind them to give it to you directly. Because if you do, it lowers your income and it doesn't require you to have on the income tax. You don't have to do the notifications for, you can get your income lowered and it will help you. So don't let them take the R&D and then give it to you. Have them give it directly to you. It's much better for them and safe for you.
That is really a very critical point. One of our donors got caught on that and was a headache to get it straightened down. And one more footnote on the story that Makensie was telling, that has to do with social media and the importance of our information online. The individual who wanted to give it to the Chijnaya Foundation first consulted with the relevant bank officer. And that bank officer went and checked the Chijnaya Foundation and said, "That is a terrific place for you to put your money. It's totally appropriate." So making sure that we're clear about our nonprofit status online and everything we do, I think is absolutely helpful when someone wants to check the appropriateness of the donation.
These are the type of conversations we are having in those endowment and finance committees, because these are things that are new to me too, that I'm learning. And it's, I know, but it's very important to know. And one other thing that we've been trying to do, and I know it's been done over the last few years, but we're trying to strengthen the presence of it on our online and our physical materials, is adding the foundation to your will or estate. We have a box on every donation slip that goes out, just saying, "Hey, I'm interested." And so they can we'll contact them and say, "Hey, what does this look like for you?" And it's honestly as simple as putting our EIN or our nonprofit number in your will. So it's pretty simple, but we're just trying to make sure people are aware, like, there's so many ways that you can support us. And even though it might not be something where we're seeing the dollar amounts on a yearly basis go up, it's going to pay off in the long run. So. Perfect. Okay, and then these are a few other items we already touched on, but just highlighting this one. The importance of video materials and photos, we acknowledge is just so important in today's world. So that's something we hope to implement in some of those kind of snail mail pieces that go out. I know there was a conversation last year of, "Hey, you guys should share some of those videos that they submit to you requesting funds." So we're hopeful. We have 2 this year, but we can kind of adapt them a little bit, put some subtitles on them and share them with people too, because it's just always so great to see firsthand who it is that we're supporting. So I wanted to real quickly, I know we've kind of had this ongoing conversation, but give one more opportunity to have a conversation. Are there any other ideas that we could potentially tap into? I know you might also want to digest this information, and you can get back to us later. You can join our fundraising committee meetings and have that conversation, but we're always open to ideas. So thank you guys for all of your support in that area. And if anybody has a comment, let me know.
this may not be relevant to your last point, but I have received some feedback, on uninvited. About some people who are unhappy that, they have either given a named scholarship or have supported an entire project. And they feel that they should be getting more personal contact, photo of the person receiving it, communication from and with the person who received it, or the community that received their funding for it. And so retention is more important than acquiring new. It's cheaper to do to retain people. So I would heartily suggest that be very carefully considered, because you may lose some people who feel that they didn't get the feedback that they should have gotten.
If you want to pass me those names, that would probably be important, because we do our best to really make sure that every individual person receives. So there might be some that fall through the cracks, but I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about that.
Yes, just to follow up on Ralph said, I had just made a similar note to talk to you about that. And I think we've discussed this before, and we don't want to put the becario, for example, in direct contact with the donor. But what we can do is just, if they write a letter or something, like giving an update, and it can be channeled through Chijnaya and then passed on to the donor in question, just so that there's no chance of, you know, of the perhaps a student trying to cultivate more of a relationship with the donor or directly. Yeah, and we talked about that, and so perhaps if we could establish some sort of mechanism for getting little feedbacks or something. I'm thinking of the vicarios especially, and then feeding that to the named donors, like a letter to the named donor, and then it goes to you and on to the donor. It's just a little tiny thing, a paragraph with a picture or something. Just it would mean so much.
And progress reports on things. You know, it is not just a one-shot deal, because most of our named scholarships are not endowed named scholarships. They are annually based. So they come and go.
So every named scholar donor receives a certificate naming which student it is, plus a yearbook at the end of the year, and I try to reach out and give them an update. So I don't know if we still feel like there should be more done. I feel like that's a very tangible way of saying, hey, this is the person that you're helping, this is what they're studying, this is their profile. But if there's some other sort of intervention or some sort of material that we could provide, I'd be happy to. But I really do try to make sure that the named scholarship folks definitely know who that scholarship's going to.
One additional idea, when I worked with Loyola University, we had scholarship students write donors that had given to their program. And I know it would be in Spanish, but it could be just a very short thing translated from the student that received the money.
Yeah, that's what you say, and then it goes to you.
Okay,
And then I'll
yeah.
do the donor, yeah.
También, ¿qué opinas? ¿Tú crees que, o sea, es algo que se podría pedir de los estudiantes, hacer una notita chiquita a lo que la donante que les dio la beca? ¿Eso se podría hacer?
Sí, definitivamente.
Fotos.
También, sí. Sí,
Coordinamos entonces para hacer
Claro que sí.
bien. Okay, awesome, great ideas.
Gloria raised her hand.
Okay, 1 second. Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, I can't make out much of the discussion, but I did want to raise something. If it's already just been discussed, tell me and I'll stop. At last year's board meeting, I was taken with one of the videos and projects, and I then right after that sent a donation in order to underwrite that project, and with the suggestion that this be used in the future as a way that there's a direct connection between a donor and a specific community. I hadn't actually realized that by the way, I've been involved with Chijnaya since it was founded 20 years ago. And I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer in Peru. I have been nagging and nagging and nagging Chijnaya to let me know what's going on with the project. I sent a donation to fully fund the project, but with a little bit of extra money, thinking, if there were additional problems, that there would be a little fun there. And I have been nagging to get some kind of feedback. Did they get the money? Did they do anything? And through Makensie, I did get pictures of what they bought with the money, but then they were not going to get to actually do the work until October. Never heard again. I did, at the request of Makensie, write something for one of the publications about this as a possibility. But it's just, I think that it's a good possibility, but it just hasn't been picked up by the staff in the Prodea staff. And it may be that they don't understand, the notion of doing that. But I felt, I'm still going to contribute to Chijnaya, but I felt that it was not well handled. And it just, of course, the project is over with, and that's the end. I know nothing about what's happened. I speak Spanish, so I certainly could have been written the community, or they write me, etc. But I just think it's a lost opportunity. Obviously, there's some interest in the scholarship program where there's, who you're funding, and I guess you have the opportunity to communicate with the student. But I just think this is something that would be, rather than sending money to the general fund, which is I had been doing, there would be more of a direct connection. Thank you.
Thanks, Gloria. Yeah, I think first and foremost, thank you for your commitment to the specific project. That's kind of what we've talked about, throughout this conversation, is we want to make sure folks are, linked to the foundation in a way that makes them feel excited and encouraged about the work that we're doing. And we're grateful that video had an impact on you last year. I think I wanted to briefly just go back to a comment that Kathy said that I think is important here. This is great feedback for us to, going forward, maybe provide you with more of a formal report. I think that's something that we can still do, so you can see the tangible numbers. We're very dependent upon the Prodea staff to be able to get us information about the communities. And I think, going back to our conversation yesterday, it is a little bit difficult sometimes to travel as consistently as they would like to those places. But we're hoping to rectify that this year with, providing them more support with staff, so that we can make sure we do that. And of course, that's a priority for us, making sure that the donor sees the impact firsthand. But yeah, returning to that comment, I think that Kathy said that something we want to maintain. We want you to have a relationship with the folks that you're supporting, but we want to be able to kind of help get that information to people so that there's not any sort of confusion or misunderstanding if the donor were to be directly related to the community. There could be conversations going on of external requests that we're not aware of, and that could create some potential issues moving forward. So I think it's great feedback. We'll definitely take it into consideration. I think I owe you some information still, but that is one of the reports. One of the projects we reported on yesterday that was successful thanks to your contribution. So thank you very much for your feedback. Connie just had a quick comment here, and then I think we should go I think we should move it forward in our agenda. She just said, I had great feedback on the scholarship from Student Foundation, etc. So it's a mixed bag here. I think there's room for improvement. There's always room for improvement. We'll definitely take those comments and we will take that into consideration this year. Any other last comments on fundraising for Chijnaya?
I just wanted to say that years ago I gave to an Indian school out in Montana, and what made a difference, I didn't know to whom exactly I was giving the money, but each year in the thank you for your donation letter, and this is how much you gave, there was a picture probably sent to 100 people from a student with a little comment about how much the support meant to that particular student and what their plans were for the future. And even though I never knew the student and I never knew exactly where my money was going, it made a difference just to get a quick little photograph with a comment from the student in that letter that you have to send to everybody at the end of the year. So it's a simple way to do it, and I wouldn't know whether it was my student or somebody else in the picture with the comment. So it's something generic, but it does make a difference.
Thanks, Diane. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Again, there's room for improvement. I think this is kind of the first, at least my first experience with the donor funding an entire project outside of a named scholarship. So there's room for improvement. And I think, yes, a photo, a note goes a long way. ¿Alguien quería decir algo?
Only one comment about the fundraising strategy. Uno is a very proud, the families proud identity like that. And this.
Okay, thank you, Makensie. No, it's a very small comment about this item of fundraising. Uno is very proud of the regionalism and local identity, and it's interesting if we could find David in the regional professional associations, some networks for enter with doctors, engineers, maybe lawyers, no, because there are national professional associations, colegios profesionales in Spanish, to national scope, but in every region there are regional representaciones de los colegios nacionales. So in Puno there is a colegio de ingenieros de Puno, colegio de médicos de Puno, colegio de abogados de Puno, colegio de antropólogos de Puno. So it could be an interesting network of professional people in Puno. There is a group of people interested in working the development of the rural communities in Puno, so we could be working together. Maybe they could give some money or give professional and expert advice or work in the community. So it's, as you said, Makensie, the sky is the limit, so there are many options, no? It's interesting, and Ricardo is doctor, who he's a good connection with the medical professional association in Puno, and with the engineers and the other professions, no? That's all.
I think that's very much the spirit of the conversation we're having. Wonderful. Yeah, great transition to now to Debbie, who's going to present kind of on some ideas that Rodia has as a board and group to fundraise.
Good morning, the Chijnaya Foundation members and the Prodia members and friends who are joining this second day of the meeting. I would like to do the presentation to all the board and friends about the goals and fundraising strategies of Prodia Association that we are planning to do this 2025. So the Prodia Association, in collaboration with the Chijnaya Foundation, reaffirms our commitment to promoting the sustainable development in our communities. So to achieve this goal, it's essential to secure sustainable income through effective fundraising strategies in 2025. So this plan is aligned with our mission to empower communities, strengthening institutional capacity and foster collaboration with strategic partners. So with our board, we identified the objectives that is on the slide. I mean, we're first of all, we would like to strengthen our organization. The Prodia board wants to start raising money, and that is very important. So it is a so our first objective is expand our partnership to access new resources and amplify the impact of the development projects. That's the collaboration with a public and a private institution. So we are start like the last year we start a collaboration with the University. We are still having the partnership with the Engineers Without Borders that they are coming this year. Nunua Project Organization, they are been collaborating with us many years ago, but they want to back again to the area. So there is those collaboration. It is important to strengthen our organization. In other hand, we internally we like to strengthen the capacity, the institutional capacity of the Prodia. That means it's enhance the governance. It's a streamlined process in Prodia and build internal expertise for effective decision making. It's a new board starting the work in Prodia is starting in December of 2024 for the next 2 years. We have joined a new members that they are with all the new ideas. They showing commitment. So we are so happy that we can have and achieve our objectives that we are proposing for this year. So that means that we need to diversify and ensure financial sustainability. So we've been talking about to develop multiple revenue streams, including grants, product sales. This is a good idea that we received from a member, Christian Davila. I will explain later, and local partnerships to reduce the dependency on a single source that is coming from the Chijnaya Foundation, even when it's we are like the operating arm of the Chijnaya Foundation, but we need to expand our vision in Peru. The next objective is there is in the board of Prodia, we need to start enhance fundraising skill. So that's we are planning to provide some training or resources to the Prodia members. We would like to have meetings with the fundraising committee of the Chijnaya Foundation. So of this, the members will be able to identify opportunities and effectively engage potential donors. Wait, I'm sorry. Yeah. The next objective is the design and sell a social purpose crafts. So this is an idea that came from a member from Prodia. He's an artist. He will be coming to Pucará to work with the artisans in other projects, but we have this idea to collaborate in the design and working with the local artisans in Pucará to create products. So to generate income while promoting community development. That means it's artesanía con propósito. So the artisans, we will working with the artisans. They will produce the craft, and they will receive precio justo, and a percentage of the sales will be going to a project for the artisans. So yeah, that's one idea that we're having, and we are planning to implement in this year. And of course, this take to the next objective, that is engage local businesses. I mean, we are Pucará, we are located in the main plaza. We have now is that the propaganda?
Like the materials,
Yeah, the materials about our work, what we are doing in this coffee shop. And so we are looking to foster partnership with companies that shares Prodia values to secure funding and increase community engagement.
Debbie, pardon. There's a question from Diane Palmer. She wants us to give her an example of a social purpose craft. How is it different from regular crafts? Lo que mencionaste aquí de los crafts, que son para razones sociales,
Sí.
¿cómo sea diferente de los crafts normales, las artesanías normales?
Yeah, the social purpose crafts is and then we have the idea that working on the design of a piece of craft that is related to the local culture, of course, of Pucará, something, and made that craft with the local artisans, so they can receive a fair price for that. That go direct to the artisans, and a percentage of the sales will go direct to a project for the artisans. So I mean, it's a very, we think it's a very attractive idea, because you are not only buying a piece of craft to support the artisan, you are buying a purpose that will be going direct to a project for the artisans.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And the other objective is to establish a broad and diverse network. So we continue to build connection with public and private entities to enhance financial and operational sustainability. As Makensie mentioned before, the last year we have conversation with Cajo, Peru. We sign agreement for the next 3 years, and we start now the initial activities, the initial plans. In the end of the January, we will have our first meeting. So they are interested in working our saving programs. As Rosemary presentation yesterday was wonderful, but the CARE is coming. They are interested to complement the work that we are doing, providing education and training to the in technology herramientas, like using the Yape Plin. Now these platforms to buy and sell things just using a QR code is very I mean, it's everybody's doing that, and they would like to train those the people in our saving groups that have the stores of crafts, so they can get it in this technology. So so our strategy that we are proposing for this year is the first one. Well, is expand and diversify our relationships. So that means develop strategic alliances with organizations that have the same mission that like the Prodia. I mean, is working in the rural areas in development projects, integral development projects. In the other hand, the other strategies, we need to increase board members with expertise. That means recruit individuals with experience in fundraising, project management, and community development. The last year, we have 3 new members that they joined the Prodia board. So we would like to expand more and make more strengthen our organization. The other strategy is seek national and international funding, that is identify and pursue grants and opportunities that align with Prodia thematic area. As I mentioned before, we would like to work closely with the Chijnaya Foundation, the fundraising committee, to share best practices and enhance knowledge about fundraising. And the objective that I mentioned before, that working in a craft with purpose, of course, we need to work and collaborate with the local artisans in Pucará. So we will support them in creating marketable products with a fair pricing and impact, maybe an impactful maybe storytelling. That nos lleva to the next strategy, that's approach local businesses with the artisans. We are working with associations in Pucará and José Domingo Choquehuanca, that is part of our network. So yeah, we will collaborate with them and to do this idea that we have. And well, we would like to actively engage a network of contacts or engage stakeholders through meetings and digital platforms to secure their support. So the implementation plan and timeline that we are proposing is in the first quarter, that is now to March, we need to identify the key institutions and grant opportunities that develop a list of potential partners and funding sources. There is some organizations in Puno area that are working in the same or have the same mission of like us, so we can conduct an introductory meetings to establish relationships. On the second quarter, the April to June, is submit funding proposals and recruit candidates to enforce our organization. Present and send at least 5 proposals of funding tailored to the thematic areas where we are working. And we are proposing to have on board new team members with expertise that I mentioned before, like expertise in development rural projects, fundraising. And in the third quarter, we would like to start with the idea of the social purpose crafts. So we will launch the sale of those crafts and strengthen the partnership. Coordinate with the artisans to finalize the product designs and market and promote these products. Not only in the Puno area, using, of course, the social media and maybe some events, especially when it's the main anniversary of the Pucará, or other important dates that in the local have like Virgen del Carmen, that is a local market. So we will be working on that. And in the last quarter, of course, we need to evaluate the results and prepare the annual report. So this comes to analyze the outcomes of fundraising efforts and adjust strategies and compile and present an impact report for our stakeholders. So in monitor all these activities, all these objectives and strategies that we are proposing, of course, they need to be monitored. So we will have a monthly meetings to track the objectives and activities, review progresses, address challenges, and celebrate achievements. And the quarterly reports to evaluate the success of initiatives. And in the evaluation that I mentioned before, in the last quarter of the year, we will be the annual review of the impact of the activities performed. And a feedback, of course, is always good to have some background from partners and beneficiary communities to refine the plans. Yeah, well, I would like to finish this presentation that thanks to the Chijnaya Foundation for all the efforts and the members of the Chijnaya Foundation, members of the PRODIA. So now this is a PRODIA. Well, We would like to invite the board members to actively support identifying the strategic partners, promoting PRODIA projects and results, and participating in the evaluation and continuous improvement. So the Chijnaya Foundation and the PRODIA, together we can continue building a more sustainable and equitable future to our communities. Thank you so much. Is there any comment, suggestion that will help us? Please let us know.
Gracias, David. Okay, we are actually somewhat on schedule today, so we will take a break. There's a coffee in the corner. I'm gonna check. We're having, I think, like ají de gallina tart today, so it'll be here shortly if it's not yet. But let's get back together in 10 minutes. So we're talking around 9:50-ish. Please, thank you.
John is have also left some lovely chocolates and candies there.
For those of you online, we have not started yet. You're not missing out on anything. Just give us 1 minute to sit down and we'll get going. Thank you for your patience. With budget discussion. So Prodia is going to present their budget first, and then we'll discuss the Chijnaya budget. So I'm going to pass over the mic to María. Buen día con todos. Sí, perfecto. Ok, bien. Dentro del presupuesto para la Asociación Prodía de este año, han habido muy pocas variaciones en lo que son gastos administrativos. Ha habido solamente pocos incrementos o pocos cambios en lo que refiere a papelería. En el caso de equipamiento, todavía vemos que faltan espacios de almacenaje para los documentos, por lo que se está haciendo una petición un poquito más grande que el año pasado. En general, no hemos variado mucho en relación a lo que se solicitó el año pasado, que es un total de $10,307 con 53 centavos. En cuanto al siguiente punto, en salarios, como se estuvo discutiendo el día de ayer, se está considerando la contratación de un nuevo miembro para el equipo de trabajo de Prodía, calidad de practicante, que mantiene o que tendría muchos menos beneficios que los trabajadores regulares y que en este caso se consideraría un sueldo mínimo en Perú. Por lo tanto, el sueldo que le correspondería sería de manera anual de $3,715. Y en cuanto al pago del contador, también luego de casi 7 años de pagarle el mismo monto, ha pedido un incremento en sus honorarios. No ha habido cambio en cuanto al pago de los honorarios del contador por los servicios contables que él realiza, y este ha sido el incremento que se ha visto para este año 2025. En cuanto al programa de ahorros o programa Huacaychazun, perdón, el monto de todos los gastos es de $3,047, según al plan presentado por la señora Rosemary. En cuanto al programa de salud, de la misma manera es un monto bastante bajo, dado que las movilidades en este año, al encontrarse la escuela dentro del centro o del pueblo de Pucará, el monto de las movilidades va a disminuir en mucho porcentaje. Por lo tanto, solamente se necesitan $1,123 con 29 centavos. En relación al programa de becas, dentro de la relación de becarios que se han aprobado el día de ayer, perdón, se lo quería más arriba. Okay. Is that better, Kathy? Yes. Se está considerando un monto total de pago de $36,800 para los becarios, y en el apoyo a los proyectos de becarios se está volviendo a considerar los mismos montos, que es $600, y para otros gastos que son en este caso de prevención a los primeros lugares o en cuanto a puntaje obtenido por ellos, de $100. Un total de $37,500. En cuanto al programa de fondos rotatorios, se han colocado todos los montos de los proyectos o de los fondos que se han aprobado el día de ayer, y la mayor diferencia sería en cuanto al gasto para la movilidad de supervisión y también de la alimentación, teniendo en cuenta de que se podría emplear para una nueva persona que apoye en el programa de fondos rotatorios. Siendo el total de $49,905 con 50 centavos.
El presente año se está proponiendo, se ha conversado, bueno, el licenciado yo hubiera tenido conversación con los ingenieros sin fronteras que han ratificado su llegada al Perú en 2025 y se está volviendo a considerar $1,000 para las movilidades que necesiten hacer durante su visita. En cuanto al programa de voluntariado, se está considerando el monto de $2,000, dado que probablemente este año puedan venir 2 veces, una en cada semestre. En el punto de imprevistos se está considerando, igual que los años anteriores, el monto de $1,000. Y finalmente hay una suba en el ítem de impuestos del banco, dado que el 2024 hemos visto un incremento del cobro de estos a $1,400. El total sería de $233,859.56. ¿Tienen algún comentario, por favor?
Una pregunta nomás. El proyecto con
Ingenieros.
Ingenieros Sin Fronteras, lo siento. ¿Qué tipo de proyecto van a hacer?
Tienen que pasar al licenciado porque no, perdón.
Es una buena noticia que,
Sí,
que
pues.
está regresando, ¿no?
Muchas gracias, Liz. Thank you for the question. The project that we are working with Engineers Without Borders is the improvement of the mobile sheds for the alpaca communities. So we've been working with this project in many years, but they are every time they are needs some improvement. The people of the communities they suggestion to them, and then they do redesign the model. So this year they are coming to prove a new improvement model of the portable shed for the alpacas.
Gracias.
Gracias, David.
Gracias, doctor. Bueno, para responder la pregunta, hemos tenido, lamentablemente, debo informar de que no hemos tenido una buena experiencia con los proyectos que han hecho los ingenieros sin fronteras anteriormente. La debilidad, digamos, de todo esto ha sido que hemos buscado hacer cobertizos móviles con bajo precio. Entonces hemos comprado, por ejemplo, tubos de aluminio un poco delgados que con el viento se han doblado. También hemos utilizado algún tipo de cuerdas metálicas que han roto las tolderas, por ejemplo. Entonces, la razón por la que o están interesados en venir los ingenieros sin fronteras es que están trayendo una nueva propuesta de cobertizo. Estamos trabajando solamente en 2 comunidades, que es Zapangota y Alto Pucarayo. El año pasado los ingenieros sin fronteras me han enviado un modelo de convenio entre la comunidad y los ingenieros sin fronteras. Ya lo hemos hecho, han firmado las autoridades de las 2 comunidades y se les ha enviado a los ingenieros. Entonces eso creo que ha sido un requisito para que ellos puedan planificar su salida. Entonces nos dijeron de que este año estaban interesados. Esperamos realmente que vengan, porque en realidad los hermanos alpaqueros no han estado muy satisfechos con el cobertizo, que no ha durado mucho tiempo. La idea es tratar de utilizar la misma toldera. Nosotros tenemos una toldera, una lona, que ha costado casi más de un buen porcentaje del precio. El precio de esos cobertizos más o menos está entre $1,400 y la toldera solamente costaba algo de $1,000. Entonces no queremos deshacernos de las tolderas porque ha sido ya una inversión fuerte. Entonces, por eso es que ellos están diseñando otra estructura mucho más gruesa para usar la misma toldera. Bueno, ese es más o menos el contexto del proyecto. Gracias.
Gracias, Julio.
¿Hubiera alguna otra duda o comentario?
Gracias. Buenos días con todos. Al respecto del presupuesto que se maneja en la Asociación ProDía y presentado ahora en la mañana por la doctora María, el año pasado tuvimos un saldo que no se pudo completar para los proyectos de los becarios. Entonces, al momento de revisar qué podíamos hacer con este dinero, una de las ideas era poder organizar un taller de capacitación para los becarios, conociendo las debilidades que tienen ellos en el momento de formular sus ensayos. Revisamos la documentación y lamentablemente no podíamos redireccionar este fondo, por lo cual ese fondo no ha sido tocado. Entonces, como esta mañana me gustaría poder pedir al directorio de la Fundación Chijnaya que cuando tengamos dinero que por alguna razón muy justificada no ha podido ser direccionada efectivamente a lo que correspondía, que nosotros como directorio de la Asociación ProDía podamos proponer cómo redistribuir dentro del ámbito que corresponde para poder ser más efectivos y con algunas debilidades que se pueden encontrar. Solo eso. Gracias.
Gracias, Ricardo. ¿Algunos comentarios adicionales?
They solo for, oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing, so.
That has been our practice. Actually, when we meet as an executive committee each month, David has brought us proposals for the use of funds, and at least in my memory, we've always approved.
Yep.
The reuse of those, and it seems to me that the suggestion you just made is an excellent one for
The use of those
for
funds.
redistribution under any circumstances, or an independent proposal. I mean, as the Education and Scholarship Committee has reported, any support that we can give to the students with regard to the preparation of those essays will serve them well in their university career.
Okay.
I guess just to reiterate, that was kind of what we decided as a team too, that we're gonna continue doing that practice. They already brought to our attention, that was an area they anticipated spending more, but it's left over, and so, yeah, everybody's on the same page there, so. Cuando quieren solicitar algo, ahí estamos para escucharlos y con mucho gusto, ¿no?
Muchas gracias. ¿Alguna otra duda o comentario, por favor?
Is there a motion to approve? Second, all in favor?
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por la atención.
Gracias, Madelka. So now we're going to talk about how this translates into the Chijnaya Foundation's budget. This document's also, if you click this table in the presentation, it links to the external one if you'd like to look at it a little more closely. Just to give you kind of a overview look at what's changed, and then we can look at any individual areas here as needed. Our operating budget for 2024 was at $337,000. Again, I know you've heard these numbers, but we spent around $333,000. And so this next year, we are estimating a total of $349,000 for our budget. We have made very sure all of these kind of blue areas up top here, which are our Chijnaya Foundation operating expenses, we've made those as minimal as possible while ensuring that we have access to the resources that we need. So a lot of it is just any operating expense any organization would have. We have to pay our insurance, our bank fees, our licenses and our subscriptions for things like Zoom and Adobe, some office supplies, fundraising, and our post office box where we receive the majority of our donations. This item here, that's we pay fees, that is the amount that we are charged by our online platform to receive credit card donations. So we do have the opportunity for folks to press a box and say, I will pay the amount that's needed for the transaction fee. And a lot of our donors do that. So we do end up recovering a little bit of that, but just to be very transparent about where that money's going, that's what we pay fees mean. We do have a website domain renewal that we pay on an annual basis. Our board meeting expense, so this is the amount that will be spent for this meeting, and we pay for a meal and for the meeting space, etc., for travel for the team as well. And then we do have our accounting amount on here, which I believe is going to be part of the discussion that we have a little bit later as a board in the executive session regarding some of the responsibilities that I will be taking on to hopefully minimize the amount utilized for external support. We do have our salary and benefits for both Chijnaya and Prodia. So Prodia has just presented their salaries. This does contemplate the amount that Medelka mentioned for the new individual. I think she presented $3,700, but after all those extra things, the insurance and the vacations, etc., I think it's around $4,500 that they've added to the salary. So they've opted as a team to request that support. This year, we did increase their salaries last year, and it was reported everyone's feeling comfortable with salaries there. As for my salary, this will be a topic of conversation later as well. I've worked directly with Abby Levine, who's very well versed in the area of human resources, who's helped me lay out kind of a wonderful plan for how to continue growing in this position and making sure that I am well prepared to keep growing the organization to the best of my ability. So there is a contemplation there for an increase in healthcare costs as well as a merit / living increase as well. So the details are outlined in the documents. I'll provide the executive session later today. So it's a very minimal difference, but there is a bit of a difference there. And as for the fun part of the budget, in my opinion, is the direct program and project costs that go to Prodia. So we've included their operating costs, those amounts that Medelka has mentioned regarding rent and bank fees, etc. The scholarships, which include for the 52 students, plus some of those other funds that Medelka mentioned they utilize for some of their gatherings. So this is approving a small extra amount in addition to what was not utilized last year, which that amount goes into the emergency fund. So now they're requesting a new amount specifically for this year for those activities. And then our projects and other operational costs. So that includes all of the rotating fund projects that we approved, the 2 water projects that we approved, and then the Wakai Chasun, the health program, and other costs that Medelka presented. So we're talking about a total of $349,000. Again, this is the best estimate possible. This last year we were under budget, so I'm confident that in certain areas we can still be able to hopefully be under this amount this year. But we are talking a total of $242,296.24 going towards operating expenses, which means all of Chijnaya, all of Prodia, all of salaries, and $106,783 going to program and project costs. So I want to acknowledge this is an idea in the back of my head of how do we reduce the operating costs versus the amount we can put into the project. So it's an ongoing conversation we're having across several committees. I really do feel confident that we've kind of gotten it to the best spot that we can in a way to pay all of our staff fairly, as well as make sure that the amount we're using to keep the lights on, so to speak, is minimal. But one huge thing I want to highlight here is we are going to do more projects, more scholarships. We're doing water projects as well. So I'm confident, again, we're trending in the right direction. I'd like to open it up if anybody has questions or comments, happy to hear them.
Are we listed on the sites that evaluate foundation's performance, and where do we stand on that? What kind of rating do we get? Which is always good to pay attention to,
Definitely.
so that people who are donors who look at that sort of stuff and making their decisions know whether or not they want to support us.
Not quite big enough for Charity Navigator yet.
Actually,
Not quite.
we're on Charity Navigator. I was just gonna look up Yep. I was just gonna pull up the official rating here, but I have made sure that we keep all of that paperwork up to date, and obviously being inscribed in the places where we operate as a nonprofit, we go through a series of processes every year. But yeah, we are on Charity Navigator as of right now, and we are a 4-star charity, 90%. So this year I do have to submit a report. Maybe what you're referring to, Kathy, is there might be certain elements that we haven't been able to report on or fulfill, so that we are able to get to the full ranking, I guess. But for our size, we're well received, and we, like I said, we make sure that we're inscribed in the places where we're operating, so that we have good standing with the states where we operate. Does that answer your question, Ralph?
And I don't quite understand
Well,
where we stand, or I'm not sure whether their ratings are they a numerical rating or a excellent, good.
It's 4 out of 4-star rating on Charity Navigator. So
4 out
it's,
of 4.
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
The 90 that you mentioned, is that out of 100?
That's my understanding of it. I think there's a little bit here where again, these are areas we can report on this year. It says impact and measurement, as well as leadership and adaptability. So I'll make sure, I think honestly, it's probably just a matter of making sure we submit all of the documents that they require to get in good standing. And we are in good standing, but we could do a little bit more, hopefully with the results of 2024, and get to that 100% mark or thereabouts.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Discussion during the executive session. If not, floor is open for the motion.
Can't hear.
Sorry.
Susie's just opening the floor for a motion.
Sorry about that. Floor is open for a motion to approve.
Well, good.
Has moved the budget. A second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
And I assume everybody online has voted.
Yeah, Dr. Mike just said aye, and I think Dan and Judy are the only other ones that would need to say an aye. If you're in favor of the budget, Dan and Judy.
Aye.
Mike said aye. Dan said aye. Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can I make a comment about salaries? Looks like we spend a lot of money on salaries, but I think we discussed many years ago that the salaries of the people in Prodea are implementing the programs, and without those salaries, and I think those salaries, I think maybe when you do the reports, I think it shows that the salaries are rolled into the cost of the project somehow, so that it doesn't look like just salaries, salaries, that it's project costs as well, I think. And that may be why we get a higher number on Navigator than what we might expect with paying that much in salaries, because I think that's one of the real downsides of lowering your numbers in that particular venue.
I think that's a great point, and maybe there's a way we could even report those numbers that I just showed you this last year in a different way to kind of include the salaries towards those programming costs.
Yeah, I remember one year we had a report that showed that, when Uber went out for his quote portion of the pay for that particular time spread was assigned to say the projects, as opposed to just being his salary. Because without him being there, those projects wouldn't go. Same with Medalka, same with Rosemary in going out to do the savings programs.
Sure.
Without her being there, those programs didn't work. So it rolls into the cost of and that's one. I think that was one. I don't say we hit it, but we incorporated the salaries into the costs of projects. And I don't know how we do that, because I don't know how to crunch numbers like that.
Everybody hear Dr. Mike okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Roland.
I looked a little deeper into the listing for Charity Navigator, and the only two areas where we were dinged were 7% off for not having a whistleblower policy listed.
Okay.
And that's something that we can do, I think, fairly handily.
Yeah.
That's procedural, but we can do that. And then we were dinged 3% for not having the last 3 years worth of Form 990, the IRS listings for the costs posted on our website. So those are easy fixes.
Oh.
Whistleblower policy, that's news to me, that'd be awesome, I think we could definitely easily do that. I did put all of the tax documents for last year's on the website this last year, so I think it's probably just a matter of reaching back out to Charity Navigator and saying, hey, we did it, we're good to go. But I also looked, thank you for that information, it's helpful. On Charity Navigator, it says you can give to this organization with confidence. So I think that at the end of the day is what we're going for. So I just wanted to highlight that too, but thank you, Roland, that's good. I'll make note of the whistleblower policy and we can address it in one of our task force meetings if you'd like to help me with that. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah.
I think we're now at the various happy place where we get to do the swearing in of the Pro Dia board, which is cause for celebration.
Si quieren, pasamos a la presentación y de ahí cualquier otra comentario, lo que quieran pendiente, hablamos.
Well, as I mentioned before, we at the Prodia board, we are having a new board and new members joined the organization the last year. So this is we are so happy that this is an opportunity that the members of the Chijnaya Foundation will know about these new members and of course the swearing of the new board for the next 2 years. So we are so happy that that new friends joined the organization, the friends that have the view of the work that we are doing in the communities in Puno. So I will now pass to Dr. Ricardo Roca, his president, for to present his board. They will be working for the next 2 years, 2024 to 2026. So, Ricardo.
Oh, my.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That like full candelaria. Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. Oh, está al revés. Oh, my goodness. I'm so hurt. Eso es para la página de web de Florida. Sí, sí. Oh, that's very good.
Thank you, Susie. This is a very nice surprise. No sense. Well, David explained that we are new members for this since the last year, and it's very important that you meet to the all the team, the Prodia board. I invite each one for introduce each one. Por favor, amigos, si me acompañan los miembros del directorio de Prodia. Y los voy a invitar a cada uno de ellos a que se presenten de la manera más o menos como yo lo voy a hacer. Mi nombre es Ricardo Roca Torres, soy médico cirujano de profesión. Trabajo y vivo, soy puneño, trabajo y vivo en la ciudad de Puno. Y gracias al doctor Ralph Bolton y a David, es que hace ya poco más de 15 años soy involucrado y conozco el trabajo que realiza Prodia. Muchas gracias. Comenzamos por ahí.
Buenos días con todas y con todos. Mi nombre es Ricardo Chiquimia, psicólogo de profesión, pero en especialidad en salud pública. Soy de Lima, pero mi padre era aymara, así que bastante arraigado. Bueno, trabajo en temas de cooperación y desarrollo toda mi vida. Ahorita estoy trabajando para la OPS, para temas de migración y salud, que es lo último que he estado trabajando en los últimos años, temas de migratorios y el sistema de salud. Y nada, recibí la invitación de Ricardo, ¿no? Y de David de apoyar también desde mi experiencia y trabajo también en la zona ya desde algunos años también. Entonces, nada, con muchas ideas, ganas y con cosas para ir mejorando cada vez más.
Buenos días con todos. Yo soy Cristian Dávila. Soy de Cusco. Creo que soy el único de Cusco. Conozco el trabajo de la fundación desde hace tiempo por el trabajo de Ricardo, David, Ral. Y me agradó mucho la idea de formar parte y de poder dar un poquito de mi trabajo. Y si es que si es que tiene algo de valor, y poder apoyarlos, ¿no? Y hacer algo por nuestras comunidades. Estoy muy agradecido por estar acá.
Buenos días nuevamente con todos. Para mí es muy grato eh, estar aquí en la reunión anual y también poder contar con nuevos miembros y una nueva junta directiva. Ah, ya me conocen, mi nombre es David Cajo, trabajo con todo el equipo de ProDía en los proyectos en las comunidades y organizaciones con lo que forman parte de nuestra red y me da mucho gusto de estar fortalecidos y de seguir trabajando en beneficio de las comunidades a las que servimos. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, como ya nos conocemos, mi nombre es Rocío Molina. Eh, venimos aprendiendo desde el 2012, gracias al profesor Ral, que me invitó a participar en esta bella obra. Y bueno, en este momento estoy apoyando en tesorería, soy la encargada del, del dinero. Y bueno, muy contenta de seguir apoyando en este bello trabajo. Y bueno, gracias a ustedes por mantener esta ayuda al altiplano. Ellos son muy bendecidos de tenerlos, porque aquí en Perú hay un montón de pueblos que necesitan mucha ayuda, ¿ya? No solo en el altiplano, también en el norte del país. He tenido la oportunidad de visitar comunidades con mucha pobreza, extrema pobreza, que bueno, me quedé con mucha pena, y todos los días pienso en ellos, de no poder apoyar como debería, ¿no? Que son pocas personas las que viven allí, pero están olvidadas y a veces no entiendo cómo ellos pueden sobrevivir con solo lo que producen. Ellos no cuentan con la ayuda del gobierno, parecen comunidades olvidadas, olvidadas totalmente. Llegué allí porque tengo una sobrina que fue nombrada para profesora y bueno, tienen educación, una escuela donde asisten solo 16 niños, primaria y secundaria, y las necesidades son muchas, ¿no? Con ayuda de la familia logramos el año pasado iniciar el año escolar apoyándolos en ropa, cosas de higiene y cuadernos y lápices, cosas básicas que no tienen, ¿no? A primaria y secundaria. Bueno, y lo que más me da pena es que no cuenten con la alimentación, que es algo muy importante. La anemia es un tema casi ya, como decir, como que es costumbre, ¿no? O que la anemia es algo que para ellos es normal. Y niños anémicos pues no pueden aprender, ¿no? No captan las enseñanzas, es muy difícil llegar a que aprendan lo básico, como que escribir su nombre, ¿no? Entonces pocos llegan a la primaria y a la secundaria casi no hay. Entonces, por eso digo que el Perú tiene muchas necesidades y Puno y las regiones que están siendo apoyadas son muy bendecidas. Gracias por todo su apoyo y este es como un grano de arena en todo el Perú. Mucha ayuda muy grande y que Dios los bendiga. Gracias.
Bueno, buenos días con todos. Mi nombre es José Luis. Eh, Soy de aquí de Arequipa. Por eso, una vez más, la bienvenida a todos ustedes aquí a mi tierra. Yo trabajo en Cusco, trabajo para una empresa de IT, soy ingeniero de sistemas de profesión. Llegué a Prodía gracias a Ricardo, que es un buen amigo y a que siempre agradezco que me involucre en cosas tan importantes e interesantes como puede uno aportar desde su expertise, desde el granito de arena que puede hacer con el conocimiento que puede ayudar a que un proyecto pueda mejorar o pueda concretarse. Gracias.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Germán Soldevilla, soy agrónomo de profesión, vivo ahora en Lima, trabajo en tecnología trabajo en tecnología para agricultura. Ahora, bueno, entonces, ligado a la agricultura, como es mi profesión, básicamente en lo que es tecnología para optimización del uso de agua y fertilizantes, básicamente. Vivo en Lima, estoy en Prodía gracias a la invitación de Ricardo, que aparte de de ser amigos, ciertamente somos primos. Entonces, y muy agradecido por la invitación, Ricardo, y poder participar en estas obras sociales que son tan importantes y bueno, dispuesto a apoyar en todo lo que pueda. Gracias y bienvenidos a Arequipa.
Sí, bueno, gracias primero a todos, a Ricardo y a los nuevos miembros de la Junta Directiva. Ya nos conocemos muchos de los que estamos aquí. Solo decirles de manera muy breve que en estos tiempos donde me da la impresión de que cada vez somos más individualistas y estamos más peleados unos con los otros, encontrar un espacio en el cual se hablen de proyectos, apoyo, solidaridad, colaboración, es un espacio que en muy pocos lugares se encuentra y la verdad que es muy revitalizante, ¿no? Como conversaba ayer, creo con Makensie o no recuerdo si con Katy, uno viene a estas reuniones y uno como que se llena de una energía positiva, ¿no? Y uno le da ganas de seguir colaborando y eso es algo que se agradece mucho a todos los miembros por dar la oportunidad de poder participar, ¿no? En el rol que a cada uno le corresponde. Así que gracias, un placer y siempre estamos para la colaboración. Un gusto.
Buenas, mi nombre es Juan Carlos Reina, ya conozco a muchos de ustedes, amigos ya. Soy muy contento de formar parte de este gran grupo, Fundación Chijnaya y Asociación Prodía. Muy contento y muy agradecido porque si bien es cierto, siempre hemos tratado de, en lo que se puede, dar una mano a nuestros hermanos del altiplano, algunos eh, como decía mi esposa, algunos otros pobladores en otras ciudades. Aquí en Puno es un feeling diferente también, ¿no? Y gracias a Ralph por la invitación. Ya van a ser casi 12 o 13 años que estamos con ustedes. Y nada, muy agradecido, me siento también bendecido por eso, bendecido por Dios por poder dar un granito de arena, porque es una forma de agradecimiento, ¿no? De todo lo que nosotros tenemos o podemos obtener, dar algo o apoyar en algo o con ideas o con trabajo, eso es muy bueno, ¿no? Les quiero dar las gracias y que nos sigan apoyando, que nos tengan paciencia. A nuestro grupo vamos a seguir creciendo, vamos a hacer lo mejor posible y este 2025 yo creo que nos va a ir muy bien también. Gracias por todo.
Muy bien. Ellos
conjuntamente conmigo somos el equipo aquí en Perú, que podemos reflejar el trabajo que hacen ustedes en los estados. Si se dan cuenta, somos ahorita un patriarcado. Solo tenemos una dama en el grupo y vamos a poder a trabajar en invitar e involucrar otras damas también para que se sumen al trabajo de aquí de Prodía. Cada uno de nosotros ha manifestado lo que significa pertenecer a esta asociación y creo que se puede resumir en una frase que me gusta mucho y que dice: nadie llega lejos si no hace algo por los demás. Y todos queremos llegar lejos y dejar huellas, y por eso estamos aquí. Muchas gracias, Ricardo, David, Cristian, Rocío, José, Germán, Javier, Juan Carlos, por acompañarnos, estar juntos esta mañana y que nos conozcamos tanto la Asociación Prodía como la Fundación Chijnaya. Para nosotros también es la primera vez que nos juntamos todos. Siempre hemos estado online. Es la primera vez que estamos juntos y recién nos conocemos entre todos en estos días. Gracias por esta oportunidad. Para estos 2 años que nos siguen, me acompañan en la directiva Rocío como la tesorera y Cristian como el secretario. Y todo esto no hubiese sido posible si los años anteriores la directiva de Prodía no hubiese también estado en muy buenas manos. Gracias, Javier, es nuestro más presidente, si me acompañas, por favor. Gracias por todo el trabajo realizado. Y le quiero pedir a Ralph, al doctor Bolton, para que por favor nos haga el honor de tomarnos la juramentación como nuevos directivos y miembros de Prodía. Por favor. Mira, voy a pedir a Susi que nos acompañe.
Bueno, felicitaciones a todo el grupo de Prodía. Es un placer de ver el crecimiento y sabemos que en los años que antes vamos a ver algunos trabajos enormes y el impacto en el altiplano gracias a ustedes. Y felicitaciones.
Gracias. Cuando la fundación empezó a trabajar en el Perú, en 2005, empezamos muy informalmente. Y durante los primeros 5 o 6 años, algo así, no existía Prodía. Nosotros estamos haciendo proyectos con comunidades bajo el radar, sin preocuparnos de la burocracia, las leyes peruanas, nada, ¿no? No sabíamos y a mí no me gustan esas cosas de burocracia en todo caso, no aguanto. Entonces, felizmente hay otros que dominan ese asunto. Pero poco a poco hemos dado cuenta que no podemos seguir trabajando así, que era necesario regularizar nuestra situación y empezamos a crear con bastante dificultad la Asociación Prodía, que significa, como ustedes saben, Pro Desarrollo Integral del Altiplano, que es el principio principal para la organización. En el comienzo, no sé, fuimos pocos, incluyendo yo era miembro al comienzo, pero después hemos decidido que mejor que sea independiente y sin gringos. Entonces nosotros retiramos de Prodía para separar los roles y formamos con el primer presidente, Javier era el primer presidente. Pero todos decían que va a ser muy difícil reclutar peruanos para formar parte de una organización así. ¿Por qué? Si van a participar, van a querer algo, porque aquí en el Perú el concepto de reciprocidad es muy importante y no van a hacerlo gratis, no van a participar, no se lo van a encontrar. Entonces, y ha sido difícil al principio, entonces me alegra hoy día ver que han podido buscar gente de muy buena voluntad que quieren colaborar con sus propios paisanos y los campesinos y artesanos para ayudar y apoyar en mejorar el bienestar de ellos. Por eso felicito a usted, señor presidente, y todo su equipo, a David también, porque yo estaba nagging durante muchos años que aumenta el número de miembros y ahora sí se ha aumentado y seguro van a aumentar algunos más, especialmente de las damas, porque las damas siempre son más responsables. Bueno, es para mí un honor estar acá para presenciar esta juramentación de los nuevos miembros y bueno, de todos los miembros de Prodía.
Tú nos tienes que ser juramentado.
Pero yo no sé la formalidad de cómo es. Levanta la mano derecha. Creo que necesito un abogado que me dice las cosas. ¿No? Y en el Perú falta la cruz que tiene que estar presente. Y la última juramentación creo que cuando él recibió su título de abogado. Bueno,
Lo que te salga del corazón. Lo que te salga del corazón.
ya. Bueno, señores de damas, ustedes están asumiendo un cargo muy importante para trabajar fielmente para el bienestar de la organización y para el bienestar de los que van a beneficiar del trabajo que ustedes van a hacer. Si ustedes están de acuerdo y aceptan esa responsabilidad, hay que decir, sí, yo juro. ¿Ok? Okay.
Sí, yo juro.
Sí, yo juro.
Sí, juro.
Sí, yo juro.
Sí, yo juro. Sí, juro.
Sí, juro. Sí, juro. Sí, juro.
Gracias. Ahora, desde este momento, ustedes son formalmente el equipo de miembros del directorio de ProDía. Felicitamos a todos ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Muy bien. Realmente para mí, en lo personal, estoy seguro que para todo el equipo de ProDía ha sido muy significativo el que te digamos sí. No solo a ti, sino a toda la Fundación Chijnaya. Y Susi, prometo que esta banda, esta hermosa de Candelaria, la vamos a llevar cada uno de nosotros y el trabajo en estos 2 años vamos a dar lo mejor de nosotros y esta banda la entregaré al siguiente presidente para que continuemos con el legado de Chijnaya y Prodi. Muchas gracias a todos y cada uno de ustedes y decirles a Jover, a Rosemary, a André y a Madelka que cuentan con un equipo de directorio que cada vez nos estamos involucrando un poco más para tener un mejor trabajo y mejor resultado en todas y cada una de las actividades. Lo que queremos hacer es tener la casa ordenada y los documentos que corresponden ordenados para que todo vaya en orden y mejoremos a todo nivel. Muchas gracias, gracias amigos, gracias primo, gracias a todos. Buenos días.
We're gonna take a quick photo and we'll be back in case any other things need to be addressed. But for the most part, I think we've touched on everything. But yeah, we'll be back in a minute. Thanks for being patient.